This Mother's Day, I received a package from my son, a gift that promised to change everything. But before I could cut through the tape, my husband, the man who'd controlled my every breath for nearly half a century, shouted, his voice trembling, "Don't open it!" When I looked into his eyes, for the first time I saw fear, and I knew with certainty that what lay inside this box wasn't just a gift. It was the truth he'd hidden from me my entire life. My name is Helen Carter, and at 72 years old, I've lived my entire adult life according to someone else's schedule. Every morning at 6:15 sharp, Douglas's alarm pierces through the pre-dawn silence of our Vermont home. By 6:20, I'm in the kitchen preparing his breakfast. 2 eggs over easy, wheat toast cut diagonally, black coffee in his favorite blue mug, the one with no chips or cracks, because imperfection disturbs him. "Helen, the eggs are runny again," Douglas announces from behind his newspaper, not bothering to look up. At 76, my husband still carries himself like the bank auditor he once was, examining every detail of our life for discrepancies. "I'll make new ones," I reply automatically, already reaching for the pan. 50 years of marriage have taught me that arguing over eggs isn't worth the 3-day silent treatment that follows. Our house sits on Elm Street, a picture-perfect colonial with white shutters and a wraparound porch that tourists photograph in autumn. Inside, every surface gleams. Douglas insists on hospital-level cleanliness. The living room furniture hasn't moved an inch since 1985. Even the throw pillows must maintain their designated angles. "We need to review the grocery budget," Douglas says, finally folding his paper with surgical precision. "You spent $12 more than allocated last month." I nod, though the extra expense was just a small bouquet of daisies, my mother's favorite flowers. Douglas discovered them, of course. He monitors our joint checking account daily, questioning every transaction like a forensic accountant investigating fraud. After breakfast, I follow our routine. Dishes washed and dried immediately, counters wiped with the approved disinfectant, floor swept in parallel lines. Douglas retreats to his study to reconcile our finances, a task that consumes hours daily, though we live simply on our pensions, while he calculates. I dust the photographs lining our mantel. Our wedding picture shows a young woman with hopeful eyes and a nervous smile. I barely recognize her anymore. There's Michael's graduation photo, our only child, now 42 and living his own life in Chicago. Douglas insisted on only one child. "Children are expensive liabilities," he'd said, as if our son were a line item on a balance sheet. "Helen!" Douglas calls from his study. "Come here." I find him hunched over his laptop, multiple spreadsheets open. "You forgot to log the 67 cents from the grocery store parking meter." "I'm sorry," I murmur, though part of me wants to scream that 67 cents shouldn't matter after a lifetime together. But I learned long ago that in Douglas's world, every penny must be accountable, every action justified, every deviation from his system corrected immediately. The afternoon stretches ahead with predetermined activities, laundry folded in precise thirds, dinner preparation beginning at 4:30 sharp, evening news at 6, bed by 9:15. Some days, I feel like a ghost haunting my own life, going through motions choreographed by someone else. Standing at the kitchen window, I watch our neighbors' children play in their yard, their laughter carrying on the spring breeze. When Michael was young, Douglas limited his outside playtime to 1 hour daily. Excessive play interferes with discipline. He'd maintained, now Michael rarely visits, and when he calls, Douglas hovers nearby, monitoring our conversations like a prison guard. This is my life, measured, controlled, suffocating. Every breath I take must fit within Douglas's parameters. Every thought must align with his worldview. Every dream must shrink to fit inside the narrow box he's constructed around us. Sometimes, late at night when Douglas's snoring fills our bedroom, I lie awake wondering what might have been. What if I'd been braver 50 years ago? What if I'd trusted my instincts when the red flags first appeared? But morning always comes at 6:15 sharp, and with it, another day of perfectly regimented captivity. I am Helen Carter, and I am drowning in my own life. The phone rings at exactly 7:30 every Wednesday evening. Douglas glances at his watch, frowning at the disruption to our scheduled programming. "It's Michael," I say, already knowing. Our son has called at this precise time for the past 6 months, ever since that terrible Thanksgiving when everything almost fell apart. 10 minutes, Douglas warns, tapping his watch. The utility bills need reviewing tonight. I take the cordless phone to the kitchen, as far as the cord will stretch from Douglas's watchful presence in the living room. "Hi, sweetheart," I whisper, cupping the receiver close. "Hey, Mom." Michael's voice carries that familiar mix of warmth and concern that's become his trademark lately. "How are you doing? Really doing?" "Oh, I'm fine. Honey, your father and I just finished dinner." The rehearsed words taste bitter, but Douglas has excellent hearing. "Mom." Michael pauses, and I can picture him running his hand through his dark hair, a gesture he inherited from me. "Remember what we talked about last month? About you visiting Chicago? Your father thinks travel is too expensive right now." Another script, another lie. The truth is, Douglas won't let me travel alone, and he refuses to leave his financial documents unguarded. "Mom, I'm a software engineer. I make good money. I can afford to fly you out." "Michael, please." I glance toward the living room where Douglas has muted the television, a sure sign he's listening. Maybe someday. There's silence on the line, the kind that speaks volumes. Since that Thanksgiving dinner when Michael witnessed Douglas berating me over an overcooked turkey, saw him grab my wrist hard enough to leave marks, our conversations have carried this weight of unspoken truths. "Are you happy, Mom?" The question comes soft but direct, like a surgeon's first incision. My throat tightens. Happy? I don't even remember what that word means anymore. "Of course. Dear, your father takes good care of me." "That's not what I asked." Michael's voice hardens with an edge I've heard more often lately. "When's the last time you did something just for yourself? When's the last time you spent money without asking permission?" "Michael, that's not... Do you even know how much money you have? Mom, your money, not Dad's, from Grandma's house?" The question hits like cold water. My mother's house in Maine, a beautiful Victorian that sold 7 years ago for far more than we expected. Douglas handled everything. Said it was too complicated for me to understand. I signed where he pointed. Trusted when he said the money was safely invested for our future. "Your father manages our finances." I respond weakly. "Mom, listen to me." Michael's urgency makes me grip the phone tighter. "I've been doing some research. That house sold for $320,000. Where did that money go? In our retirement accounts, I assume. Have you ever seen these accounts? Do you have access to them?" My silence is answer enough. Douglas keeps all financial papers locked in his study. The one time I asked to see our bank statements, he lectured me for 3 hours about how I lacked the education to understand complex financial matters. 5 minutes, Helen," Douglas calls from the living room. "I have to go," I whisper urgently. "Mom, wait, I'm going to send you something. A package. Don't let Dad see it, okay? Can you check the mail before he does?" "Michael, what are you—" "Please, Mom, just trust me. You deserve to know the truth about your own life, about your own money." After we hang up, I stand in the kitchen, my hands shaking as I rinse our dinner plates. Through the window, I see Mrs. Patterson next door laughing with her husband on their porch swing. They're sharing wine, talking freely, touching casually, all things forbidden in my world. "Helen, the bills!" Douglas's command breaks through my reverie. As I return to the living room, I study my husband's profile, the sharp nose that seems designed for looking down on others, the thin lips that rarely smile, the cold gray eyes that track my every movement like security cameras. For the first time in decades, I allow myself to think the forbidden thought, what if Michael is right? What if there's something Douglas doesn't want me to know? That night, as Douglas reviews utility bills with the intensity of a bomb defusal expert, I realize my son has become my lifeline, the only voice reminding me that this isn't normal, that marriage shouldn't feel like a maximum security prison. "You're distracted tonight," Douglas observes, not looking up from his calculations. What did Michael want? "Just checking in." I lie smoothly, a skill I've perfected over 50 years. But inside, something has shifted. Michael's questions echo in my mind. Do you even know how much money you have? As I pretend to watch television while Douglas mutters about electricity usage, I make a silent promise to myself. Tomorrow, I'll check the mail first. The questions Michael planted in my mind grow like weeds. Impossible to uproot. $320,000. The number haunts me as I go through my daily routines, each zero a question mark burning in my brain. I find myself studying Douglas differently now, noticing things that were always there but somehow invisible before. The way he locks his study door even when he's just filing papers. How he shreds every document before throwing it away. The separate laptop he won't let me touch. Password protected and hidden in his desk drawer. On a gray Thursday morning, while Douglas attends his weekly poker game, the only social activity he permits himself, I do something I haven't done in years. I try the study door. Locked, of course. But the attempt itself feels revolutionary, my heart pounding as if I've committed a crime. That evening, Michael calls outside his usual time. Douglas is in the shower, his precise 10-minute routine giving me a window of freedom. Mom, I need to tell you something, Michael says without preamble. I hired a private investigator. You did what? My whisper comes out strangled. I'm sorry, but I had to know. Mom, the money from Grandma's house, it's not in any retirement account under your name. Dad moved it somewhere else. The room spins slightly. I grip the kitchen counter for support. That's not possible, he said. I know what he said. But Mom, there's more. I found out he's been taking your Social Security checks, too. They're supposed to go into a joint account, right? But they're being redirected. How do you know this? Because I helped you set up direct deposit 5 years ago, remember? I still had the account information. Mom, that account has been closed for 3 years. 3 years. 36 months of Social Security payments vanishing into Douglas's control. My mouth goes dry. There's something else. Michael continues, his voice gentle but firm. The investigator found some interesting transfers, international ones, to accounts in the Cayman Islands. I don't understand, but even as I say it, pieces of a puzzle I didn't know existed start falling into place. Douglas's sudden interest in online trading 4 years ago, the way he insisted we needed to tighten our budget, even though we should have been comfortable. His explosive anger when I suggested we visit Michael for Christmas. Do you know what flights cost? When apparently we had hundreds of thousands of dollars. Mom, I think Dad's been hiding assets. Maybe gambling with them. Maybe bad investments. I don't know yet. But I do know this. Half of everything is legally yours, including Grandma's money. Michael, stop. Fear crawls up my spine like ice. You don't understand. If your father finds out what? That his son loves his mother enough to protect her? That you deserve to know where your own money is? I hear the shower turn off upstairs. I have to go. Wait, I'm sending you something. Evidence. Keep it safe. And whatever you do, don't let him see it. Mom, you have options. You don't have to live like this. After hanging up, I return to wiping already clean counters, my mind racing. International accounts, hidden assets. The words sound like something from a crime show. Not my life in small-town Vermont. Douglas appears in the doorway, hair still damp, studying me with those calculating eyes. Who is on the phone? Wrong number. I lie, amazed at how easily deception comes now. He watches me for a long moment, and I force myself to maintain eye contact, to look as empty and docile as he expects. Finally. He nods and retreats to his study. That night, I lie awake thinking about my mother. She died believing her house would secure my future, make sure I'd never want for anything. A woman needs her own money. Helen. She'd told me in her final days, promise me you'll keep this safe. I'd promised. Then I'd let Douglas handle everything. The next morning, I volunteer to get the mail, something I rarely do. Douglas looks surprised but doesn't object, distracted by an error in his checking account reconciliation, walking to the mailbox. I feel like a spy in my own life. The usual bills and flyers are there, nothing unusual, but as I turn to go back inside, I notice Mrs. Patterson watching from her garden. "Helen," she calls out softly, "if you're ever looking for something that needs to stay private, I do have a box in town. Just thought you should know." Our eyes meet, and in that moment, I realize I'm not as invisible as I thought. Others have noticed. Others understand. "Thank you," I whisper, my voice thick with unshed tears. As I walk back to my prison disguised as a home, I make a decision. Whatever Michael sends, I'll be ready. 50 years of silence, of compliance, of shrinking myself to fit Douglas's narrow world. It has to end. The money my mother left me is out there somewhere, hidden in accounts I've never seen, spent on investments I never approved. But more than the money, it's the betrayal that burns. Every "you wouldn't understand" was a theft. Every locked door was a confession. I am Helen Carter, and I'm beginning to understand far more than my husband ever imagined. Something fundamental has shifted in our house, like tectonic plates grinding against each other before an earthquake. Douglas feels it too. I can tell by the way he watches me now, his gray eyes tracking my movements with newfound suspicion. He started checking the mailbox himself, sometimes twice a day. "Exercise," he claims, though Douglas hasn't voluntarily exercised in 20 years. He stands at the front window for long stretches, pretending to read but really monitoring the street. When the phone rings, he lunges for it like a cat pouncing on prey. "You've been different lately," he announces over breakfast, his eggs untouched as he studies me. Distracted, secretive. "I don't know what you mean," I reply, keeping my voice steady while my heart hammers against my ribs. "Michael's been putting ideas in your head." It's not a question. That boy never understood the value of financial discipline, always wanting more, always questioning my methods. I say nothing, focusing on buttering my toast with mechanical precision. Douglas hates silence more than argument. It denies him the control he craves. His face reddens. "I've spent 50 years protecting this family's assets, making smart decisions you couldn't possibly comprehend, and this is the thanks I get? Suspicion and gratitude?" The toast turns to cardboard in my mouth. Protecting, as if hiding my mother's money constitutes protection. That afternoon, while Douglas makes his weekly trip to the bank, a ritual he guards jealously, I do something unthinkable. I search his study. The door is locked, but I remember something from decades ago, the spare key hidden inside the hallway light fixture. My hands shake as I retrieve it, dusty from years of neglect. His study smells of leather and secrets. File cabinets line one wall, each drawer locked. His desk is militarily neat, not a paperclip out of place. But I know where to look. The bottom drawer where he keeps his important documents, using a hairpin, a skill learned from my rebellious teenage years. I work at the lock until it clicks open. Inside, I find folders labeled with cryptic codes: CI1, TF45, MS7. My trembling fingers flip through pages of numbers and transactions I don't understand. But one thing becomes crystal clear. These aren't normal retirement accounts. Then I see it. A statement from a bank in Georgetown, Grand Cayman. The balance makes me gasp. $247,892. Below it, a transaction history showing regular withdrawals, large ones, some marked trading loss, others simply transfer out. My mother's money. Gambling with my mother's money. A car door slams outside. Douglas, returning early. I photograph the pages with my phone, another forbidden act, before returning everything exactly as I found it. By the time his key turns in the front door, I'm in the kitchen, peeling potatoes with forced calm. "Helen," his voice carries unusual strain. "Were you in my study?" "Why would I go in your study?" I ask, channeling 50 years of practiced innocence. He appears in the doorway, face flushed from more than exertion. "Someone's been asking questions at the bank about old accounts. You wouldn't know anything about that? I haven't left the house except for grocery shopping." True enough. He watches me for a long moment, then retreats to his sanctuary to doubtlessly check his precious files. I continue peeling potatoes, each strip of skin representing another layer of deception falling away from our marriage. That evening. The phone rings during dinner. Douglas answers, his face cycling through emotions. Surprise, anger, fear. No, he can't. That's impossible. I'll handle it. After hanging up, he turns to me with an expression I've never seen before. Raw panic barely contained beneath his usual stern mask. That was Jim from the bank, he says slowly. Someone's been investigating our financial history, professional inquiries. I arrange my face into concern. Who would do such a thing? Michael. The name comes out like a curse. Your son is trying to destroy everything I've built. Your son, not our son. The distinction tells me everything. He called earlier, Douglas continues, pacing now. Left a message. Said he's sending you something for Mother's Day, a gift. His laugh is bitter, hollow. We both know it's not really a gift, don't we? I meet his stare steadily. I don't know what you mean. Don't play dumb. Helen, it doesn't suit you. He leans across the table, close enough that I can see the desperation in his eyes. Whatever he sends, you're not to open it. We'll return it unopened, for the good of our marriage. For the good of our marriage. As if our marriage has ever been about anything other than his control, his needs, his power. Of course, dear. I lie. The words tasting of freedom. That night. Douglas doesn't sleep. I hear him moving around his study, opening and closing drawers, shuffling papers. The sound of a man trying to hold together a crumbling empire with his bare hands. I lie still, feigning sleep, while inside I'm more awake than I've been in decades. Michael's package is coming. The evidence is mounting. The cage door is opening. All I have to do is find the courage to step through it. Mother's Day dawns bright and cruel. Sunlight streaming through windows that suddenly feel like bars. Douglas has been awake since 5, standing sentinel at the living room window with his coffee growing cold in his hand. He hasn't shaved, hasn't followed his rigid morning routine. Fear has disrupted even his need for control. Happy Mother's Day, he says without turning around, voice hollow as a dead tree. Thank you, I reply. Though we both know this day has nothing to do with celebration. I've dressed carefully. My good navy dress, the pearl earrings Michael gave me 5 years ago, if today brings what I think it will. I want to face it with dignity. The morning crawls by in suffocating silence. Douglas won't leave his post. I pretend to read, but the words blur together. Meaningless marks on a page. The air between us crackles with tension. 50 years of lies compressed into these waiting hours. At 11:17, a delivery van turns onto our street. Douglas's entire body goes rigid. Stay seated, he commands, but I'm already standing. The doorbell rings, a sound that seems to echo through our entire lives together. Douglas reaches the door first, but I'm right behind him. The delivery driver looks between us, clearly sensing the strange energy. Package for Helen Carter, she says, holding out a small box and an electronic signature pad. She won't be accepting. Douglas starts. Yes, I will. My voice cuts through his with surprising strength. I reach past him to sign my name, Helen Carter, in bold strokes that feel like a declaration of independence. The driver hands me the package directly, marked with the logo of Hartley and Associates, my mother's law firm. The weight of it feels significant in my hands, heavier than its size suggests. Helen, don't... Douglas's command has degraded into a plea. Please, we can talk about this. Work things out. Whatever Michael has told you. You mean whatever lies he's told me? I move toward the living room, package clutched against my chest. Like the lie about my mother's money being in retirement accounts, or the lie about my Social Security checks. His face drains of color. You don't understand the complexities. Don't open it. The words explode from him as I begin working at the packing tape. His voice cracks, raw and desperate. Helen, I'm begging you. 50 years. Doesn't 50 years mean anything? I pause. Looking at this man I've shared my life with, the strong jaw now trembling, the commanding eyes now wide with fear. For the first time, I see him clearly, not the financial genius he pretends to be, but a frightened old man who built his identity on controlling others. 50 years means everything. I say quietly, that's why I need to know the truth. I open the box. Inside, cushioned in tissue paper, lies a thick manila envelope and a smaller white one marked, "Read first, love, Michael." My hands shake as I open my son's letter. "Dear Mom," I read aloud, needing Douglas to hear every word. "By the time you read this, you'll have in your hands the evidence of what Dad has done. But more importantly, you'll have your freedom. The enclosed documents show the systematic theft of your inheritance, the illegal redirection of your Social Security benefits, and the catastrophic losses from Dad's gambling addiction." "Stop!" Douglas sinks into his chair, suddenly looking every one of his 76 years. "Please, just stop." But I continue reading. "The USB drive contains recordings of Dad discussing these transactions with his broker. The legal documents are from your new attorney, already retained and ready to help. The key is to your new home, a small condo in Michael's building in Chicago, already furnished and waiting. The bank card accesses an account in your name only, with enough to start fresh. Happy Mother's Day. Mom, it's time to live." The silence that follows feels alive, writhing between us like a wounded animal. I open the manila envelope, spreading the contents on the coffee table. Bank statements showing devastating losses, legal documents proving fraud, printed emails discussing Helen's money like I was already dead. $247,000, I whisper, staring at the Cayman account statement. "You lost almost all of it. The market turned against me," Douglas mumbles. "I was trying to grow it, make us rich, make you rich, with my mother's money." Rage, pure and clean, floods through me for the first time in decades. She scrimped and saved her whole life for that house, died thinking she'd secured my future. "I can fix this," he says desperately. "Give me time. I'll make it back." "With what? My Social Security you've been stealing? Or were you planning to forge my signature on more documents?" He flinches at each accusation. This man who once seemed so powerful reduced to nothing by simple truth. I pick up the small silver key, feeling its weight, light as a feather, heavy as freedom, a new life, waiting 800 miles away, no permission needed, no daily accounting, no suffocating control masquerading as love. "Helen, you can't leave." His voice breaks completely. "You don't know how to manage money. You'll be lost without me." I almost laugh at the irony. The man who lost $250,000 telling me I can't manage money. "You're right," I say, standing up, gathering my evidence. "I don't know how to manage money, but I'm going to learn. And I'll start by not letting you near another penny of mine." The key sits cool in my palm, a promise of doors that lock from the inside, of mornings without fear, of a life measured by joy instead of control. Today is Mother's Day, and my son has given me the only gift that matters, the truth that will set me free. The evidence lies spread across our coffee table like the autopsy of a marriage. Douglas stares at the documents as if they might rearrange themselves into something less damning. I stand perfectly still, watching 50 years of deception materialize in black and white. "These prove everything," I say, my voice steady despite the earthquake inside me. "The forged signatures, the hidden accounts, the gambling losses you tried to recoup with more gambling. You don't understand the pressure," Douglas says, his commanding tone finally cracking. "Everyone at the poker game talked about their investments, their gains. I couldn't be the only one who wasn't rich," I finish. "So you stole from your wife to keep up appearances?" "It wasn't stealing!" He lurches to his feet, the old fury flickering. "Marriage means shared assets. What's yours is mine. And what's mine is mine." The words explode from somewhere deep, decades of silence breaking like a dam. "My mother's house wasn't yours to gamble with. My Social Security isn't yours to redirect. My life isn't yours to control." "Control." His laugh is bitter. "I gave you structure, purpose. Without me, you'd have, what, been happy, lived freely, known what was in my own bank account?" I pick up the USB drive, small as a lipstick but containing his confession. "Should we listen to it together? Hear you telling your broker to move more of Helen's inheritance into high-risk trades?" His face goes gray. "How did Michael get these recordings? Maybe your broker had a conscience. Maybe someone at the bank finally questioned why Helen Carter never seemed to access her own accounts. Maybe the universe finally decided 50 years of theft was enough. "I'm your husband," he pleads, the words stripped of their usual authority. "For better or worse. Remember? This isn't worse. Douglas, this is criminal." I gather the documents carefully, sliding them back into the envelope. Each paper feels like armor, protecting me from the man I once promised to love and obey. Obey. What a trap that word became. "Where will you go?" His voice has shrunk to match his stature, no longer the towering authority figure, but a desperate man watching his kingdom crumble. "You don't know anyone in Chicago. You've never lived alone. You can't even balance a checkbook, because you never let me learn." I face him fully, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time. "Every time I asked about our finances, you said I wouldn't understand. Every time I wanted to take a class, you said it was a waste of money. You didn't protect me. Douglas, you kept me ignorant so I'd stay dependent. I loved you," he says. And for a moment, I think he might actually believe it. "You loved controlling me. There's a difference." I move toward the stairs, each step feeling like progress. I'm going to pack. My attorney, yes, I have my own attorney now, will be in contact about the divorce papers and recovering what's left of my inheritance. "Helen, wait." He follows me, stumbling, reaching out. "We can work this out. Counseling, I'll change. I'll give you access to everything you haven't already lost." I pause at the bottom of the stairs. Do you know what the saddest part is? If you'd just been honest, we could have faced the losses together. But you chose deception over partnership, control over love. Please. The word sounds foreign in his mouth. This man who never asked for anything, only demanded, "Don't leave. I'm 76 years old. What am I supposed to do without you?" The same thing I'm about to do. I say quietly, "Learn." Upstairs. I pack methodically but quickly. Not much. Clothes, photos of Michael, my mother's jewelry that Douglas hadn't known about. The pearl necklace from my wedding stays on the dresser. Let him look at it and remember when he promised to cherish me. From the bedroom window, I can see Mrs. Patterson in her garden. She looks up, as if sensing my gaze, and raises her hand in what might be farewell or encouragement. Maybe both. Douglas appears in the doorway as I zip my suitcase. "You'll regret this. You'll be back within a week." Begging. "The only thing I regret," I interrupt, "is not doing this 30 years ago when Michael first asked me if I was happy." I pull out my phone and dial the number on the business card from the package. This is Helen Carter. I tell the voice that answers, "I need a taxi to the airport. Yes, right away." Douglas's face cycles through emotions, anger, fear, disbelief, and finally, something that might be grief, but it's too late for grief. "We buried this marriage long ago. I'm just finally attending the funeral. Your taxi will be there in 15 minutes, the dispatcher confirms. 15 minutes until freedom. I can survive 15 more minutes. I carry my suitcase downstairs myself, denying Douglas even the illusion of being needed. He follows, still pleading, still bargaining, still trying to rewrite reality to suit his narrative. But I'm done being a character in his story. It's time to write my own. I stand at the front door with my suitcase, the taxi visible through the window as it turns onto our street. Douglas hovers behind me, his breathing ragged, still cycling through his arsenal of manipulation. "You're making a mistake," he says, voice shifting from pleading to threatening. "No lawyer will take your case. You signed those documents under false pretenses." I turn to face him one last time. "My attorney says fraud voids consent. Funny how that works." "Your attorney." He spits the words like poison. "Michael's puppet. You mean, can't you see he's turned you against me? He's always been jealous of what we built, what you stole." The taxi pulls up to our curb. Through the window, I see Mrs. Patterson step onto her porch, pretending to water plants that don't need watering. Other neighbors peek through curtains. After 50 years of perfect propriety, the Carters are finally providing a show. "If you walk out that door," Douglas starts. "You'll what?" I challenge. "Take my money? Already done. Isolate me from friends? Achieved years ago? Destroy my self-worth? That's the only thing you failed at, though God knows you tried." My hand grips the doorknob. Such a simple action, turning a handle, but it feels monumental. I forbid you to leave, he declares, falling back on the authority that once made me cower. I actually laugh. The sound surprises us both. You forbid me? I shake my head. Oh, Douglas, don't you understand? You have no power here anymore. The Emperor has no clothes, and everyone can see you're just a frightened old man who gambled away his wife's inheritance. Helen, I'm warning you. No. My voice cuts through his bluster like a blade. I'm warning you. My attorney has copies of everything, the forged signatures, the hidden accounts, the illegal transfers. If you try to contact me, harass me, or interfere with the divorce in any way, we'll file criminal charges, fraud, theft, elder financial abuse. Yes, that's what they call it when you steal from your 72-year-old wife. His face crumbles. For a moment, I see the ghost of the young man I married, handsome, confident, full of promises. When did he become this hollow tyrant? 50 years. Helen, doesn't that mean anything? It means everything, I say softly. It means I gave you my youth, my trust, my mother's legacy. It means I let you shrink my world until it fit in the palm of your hand. It means I stayed decades longer than I should have, hoping the man I married might resurface. The taxi driver taps his horn gently. Time to go. But mostly, I continue, opening the door, it means I've earned my freedom. I step onto the porch, into the bright May sunshine. The air smells different out here, cleaner, full of possibility. My suitcase rolls easily behind me as I walk down the path I've traveled thousands of times, but never like this. Never leaving. You'll die alone, Douglas shouts from the doorway, his last desperate card. A confused old woman in a strange city. Is that what you want? I pause at the taxi, turning back to see him framed in the doorway of the house that was never really a home. He looks small, diminished, already fading into the past. I'd rather die alone and free, I tell him, than live another day in your cage. The taxi driver, a young woman with kind eyes, helps me with my suitcase. Airport? She asks gently. Yes. United Airlines. I'm going to Chicago. As we pull away, I don't look back. Not at Douglas, still shouting from the porch. Not at the house where I spent 50 years shrinking myself to fit his needs. Not at the life I'm leaving behind like a shed skin. Instead, I look forward. In my purse. The key to my new condo catches the light. My phone buzzes, a text from Michael. Your flight's confirmed. I'll be waiting at arrivals. Love you, Mom. First time flying alone? The driver asks, catching my eye in the mirror. First time doing anything alone in 50 years, I admit. She smiles. How does it feel? I think about it as we pass the familiar streets of my old life, heading toward the unknown. The fear is there, certainly. But underneath it, something else. Something that makes me sit straighter, breathe deeper, like I can finally exhale. I say, the driver nods knowingly. My grandmother left when she was 75, said it was the best decision she ever made, lived another 15 years in pure joy. 15 years. I could have 15 years or 15 days, but they'll be mine. Every sunrise, every decision, every dollar in my account, mine. As the taxi merges onto the highway, I open my phone to find a message from my new attorney. Divorce papers will be filed tomorrow. Your temporary protection order is already in place. Welcome to your new life, Mrs. Carter. Mrs. Carter. I'll be changing that name soon. Back to Helen Marie Sullivan, the girl I was before I disappeared into Douglas's shadow. The airport comes into view, and with it, my future. I pay the driver with my new bank card, my name, my money, my choice. She helps me to the curb, squeezing my hand as she passes my suitcase. You've got this, she says, and for the first time in 50 years, I believe it. I am Helen Marie Sullivan, and I am finally free. The airport security line moves slowly, giving me time to marvel at the simple act of holding my own ID, my own boarding pass. For 50 years, Douglas handled our travel documents, doling out my passport like a father giving allowance to a child. Now, the laminated card in my hand feels like a declaration of personhood. First time flying solo? the TSA agent asks, noting my nervous fumbling with the bins. Yes, I say, then stronger. Yes, it is. She gives me an encouraging smile. You're doing great. Honey, just breathe. I do breathe, deeper than I have in decades. As I walk toward my gate, the phone in my pocket holds treasures. Michael's excited texts, my attorney's reassurances, and, most shocking, messages from numbers I don't recognize. Word travels fast in small towns. Women I barely knew, trapped in their own cages, reaching out to say they're proud of me, that they're thinking of leaving too. One message stops me cold. Helen, this is Patricia Garrison. Douglas lost my husband's retirement fund too. Call me when you're ready. We should talk. So I wasn't the only one. Of course I wasn't. Predators never stop at one victim. The boarding announcement breaks through my thoughts. Group 2. That's me. I stand on legs that shake slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer magnitude of movement after so much stillness. Welcome aboard, the flight attendant says, and I nearly cry at the simple kindness in her voice. I find my window seat. Michael insisted on booking me one, knowing I'd want to watch my old life disappear beneath the clouds. As the plane fills, I text my son. Boarding now. See you soon. His response is immediate. Can't wait, Mom. I'm so proud of you. The engines roar to life, and we begin to taxi. Through the window, I watch Vermont prepare to let me go, somewhere down there. Douglas is probably calling his lawyer, maybe destroying evidence, certainly painting himself as the victim of an ungrateful wife. Let him. I have the truth in a safety deposit box in Chicago, with copies in 3 other locations. Michael thought of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, we're next for takeoff, the pilot announces. The acceleration presses me back into my seat, and then, lift, the ground falls away, taking with it 50 years of oppression. Houses shrink to dots, roads to lines, my prison to nothing at all. I don't cry until we're above the clouds. Then the tears come in a flood, not of sadness but of relief so profound it feels like rebirth. The businessman beside me wordlessly hands me tissues, asking nothing, understanding everything. 2 hours later, Chicago sprawls before me, vast and anonymous and perfect. Somewhere in that beautiful chaos is a small condo with my name on the deed, a son who fought for my freedom, and possibilities I haven't dared dream in decades. The landing is smooth, the walk to baggage claim steadier than my departure. And then I see him, Michael, my baby boy now silver at the temples, holding a sign that reads, "Welcome home, Mom," with tears streaming down his face. I run. At 72, I run like I'm 20 again, suitcase forgotten, dignity abandoned. He catches me in arms that remember when I was the strong one, when I was the one who protected him. You did it, he whispers into my hair. You actually did it. We did it, I correct, pulling back to see his face. I never could have. Yes, you could have. His voice is fierce with love. You just needed to remember who you were before he tried to erase you. The drive to my new home passes in a blur of conversation, legal strategies, therapy recommendations, the grandson I'll finally get to know without Douglas monitoring every interaction. Michael pulls up to a modest building with a doorman and flowers in the window boxes. 3rd floor, he says, handing me the key again. 3B, Mrs. Chen next door is expecting you. She makes incredible dumplings and loves to share. The grocery store is 1 block east, the library 2 blocks west. There's a seniors center around the corner with art classes. Art classes. When had I last held a paintbrush? When had I last created something that wasn't approved, measured, controlled? The condo is small but sun-filled, furnished simply but comfortably. My suitcase looks lonely in the bedroom, but that's okay. I'll fill these spaces slowly, choosing each item myself. On the kitchen counter, there's a vase of daisies, my mother's favorite, and a card from Michael's wife. Welcome to your new beginning. That night, I ordered Chinese food with my own credit card. Eat it straight from the container while watching whatever I want on TV. The freedom feels almost violent in its completeness. At 9:45, I realize I'm still awake, still dressed, still making choices without permission. My phone rings. Unknown Vermont number. I let it go to voicemail. then delete without listening. Douglas can talk to my lawyer. Instead, I call Patricia Garrison. We talk for 2 hours, comparing notes, sharing rage and ridicule in equal measure. She's leaving her husband too, inspired by my escape. We make plans to meet when the dust settles. 2 women rebuilding in the wreckage of our stolen years. Before bed, whenever I choose that to be, I stand at my window looking out at the glittering city. Somewhere. Douglas is alone in his pristine house, surrounded by his locked files and spreadsheets, keeper of nothing. The thought brings not satisfaction, but a strange peace. He chose his path. Now I'm choosing mine. Tomorrow. I'll walk to that library, maybe stop by the senior center, inquire about those art classes, open my own checking account with my own name, buy groceries without a list, live without asking permission. Tonight, though, I simply breathe, in and out, expanding into all this space that's finally, impossibly, mine. I am Helen Marie Sullivan. I am 72 years old, and my life is just beginning. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm curious. Where are you listening from? Please comment below and let me know your location so we can connect across the miles. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about Helen's journey. Your own stories of courage and new beginnings mean the world to me.